There is a bottle sitting in nearly every medicine cabinet in America right now that can replace almost every cleaning product under your kitchen sink. It costs about $1. It has been around for over 200 years, and the cleaning industry has spent decades hoping you never figure out what it can actually do. That brown bottle of hydrogen peroxide, the one your grandmother used to pour on a scraped knee before the medical world told her to stop, is one of the most effective household cleaners ever discovered. It kills bacteria, it destroys mold, it strips stains out of fabric without destroying the fabric in the process. It disinfects surfaces without leaving behind a single toxic residue. When it is done working, it breaks down into exactly two things: water and oxygen. That is it. Nothing left behind. No chemical film on your countertops, no fumes burning the inside of your lungs, no warning labels telling you to call poison control if your toddler touches the wrong surface. Meanwhile, the average American household spends somewhere between $400 and $700 a year on cleaning products, according to consumer spending surveys, most of which contain ingredients they cannot pronounce and would never willingly put near their food or their children. Your grandmother did not need 17 different sprays lined up under the sink like some kind of chemical arsenal. She needed one bottle and a little bit of knowledge that nobody bothered to pass down. This is what she knew, and this is what the cleaning aisle has been hoping you would never figure out for yourself. Start in the kitchen, because that is where the stakes are highest and the payoff is most immediate. Your cutting board, the one you use for raw chicken on Sunday evening and then wipe down with a damp sponge and a squirt of dish soap, is almost certainly still hosting bacteria you cannot see, smell, or taste. Soap does a fine job removing grease and loose food particles, but it does not reliably kill pathogens like salmonella or E. coli that have settled into the grooves and scratches of a porous surface like wood or well-used plastic. Hydrogen peroxide does. Pour standard 3% hydrogen peroxide, the same concentration, sold at every drugstore and dollar store in America, directly onto a cutting board after you have cleaned it with soap and water. Let it sit until you see it fizz and bubble. That visible fizzing is not just a visual curiosity. It is oxygen being violently released as the peroxide oxidizes and destroys the microorganisms clinging to the surface. Then rinse the board with clean water. According to the Centers for Disease Control, hydrogen peroxide is effective against bacteria, viruses, fungi, and mold spores on hard surfaces when given adequate contact time. A 3% solution with 5 to 10 minutes of undisturbed contact handles most common household pathogens. That same spray bottle of peroxide works on countertops, refrigerator shelves, and door gaskets where condensation breeds bacteria, the greasy interior of your microwave, sink basins, faucet handles, cabinet pulls, and the exterior of your kitchen appliances. Mix it 50-50 with water in a dark, opaque spray bottle because light breaks down peroxide over time and weakens it, and you have a genuine disinfectant that does real measurable work without making the room smell like a community swimming pool. One single dollar bottle has just replaced your counter spray, your cutting board sanitizer, your appliance cleaner, and your refrigerator deodorizer. 4 products for $1. And unlike chlorine bleach, which cannot actually achieve proper disinfection on a dirty surface because it contains no surfactants to cut through grease and grime, hydrogen peroxide can clean and disinfect in a single step because its aggressive oxidizing action breaks down organic matter on contact. Put it this way: bleach needs someone to pre-clean the surface before it can do its job. Most people never do that extra step. They spray bleach on a greasy counter and assume they have disinfected it when they have really just spread a chemical film over whatever filth was already sitting there. This kind of knowledge gets tracked down every single week. Methods that worked for generations got dismissed and are now being quietly rediscovered by the same institutions who once ignored them. If this is the kind of thing that matters to you and you are not yet subscribed, now is a good time. We are just getting started here. Now, here is where hydrogen peroxide really separates itself from the pack. The bathroom is the place where most people instinctively reach for the heaviest chemicals they own: chlorine bleach, ammonia-based sprays, products with warning labels that read like the fine print on a bottle of medication. And yes, chlorine bleach is a powerful disinfectant. Nobody disputes that. But what most people do not realize is that bleach has a fundamental limitation when it comes to the one thing bathrooms struggle with most: mold. Bleach works beautifully on non-porous surfaces like glass and glazed ceramic tile. But grout is porous. So is silicone caulk. So is drywall. So is the unfinished wood behind your bathroom vanity. When you spray bleach on moldy grout, the chlorine kills whatever mold is sitting on the exposed surface and whitens the stain so it looks perfectly clean. But the chlorine molecule is too large to penetrate beneath that surface into the porous material where the mold's root structures, called hypho, are still alive and actively spreading. Give it 2 weeks. The mold comes right back in the same spot because you only killed the part you could see. You treated the symptom, not the disease. A 2013 study published in the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Hygiene tested hydrogen peroxide, along with several other common household cleaners, against 6 types of indoor fungi. The researchers confirmed that hydrogen peroxide effectively inhibits fungal growth on solid surfaces and has some ability to penetrate semi-porous materials where bleach cannot reach. That is the key difference. Hydrogen peroxide's smaller, lighter molecular structure allows it to seep slightly deeper into porous grout and caulk where the living mold actually resides. Spray undiluted 3% hydrogen peroxide directly onto moldy grout or caulk. Let it sit undisturbed for 10 to 15 minutes. You will see the fizzing as the released oxygen goes to work on the organic material. Scrub with a stiff, bristled brush and wipe clean with a damp cloth for heavy buildup that has been slowly accumulating over months or even years. Make a thick paste with 3 parts baking soda to 1 part hydrogen peroxide. Spread it generously into the grout lines. Let it sit for 15 minutes. Then scrub. The baking soda provides gentle abrasion to loosen the surface grime, while the peroxide does the actual killing underneath. Your toilet bowl benefits from the same approach. Pour half a cup of hydrogen peroxide directly into the bowl. Let it sit quietly for 20 minutes or more. Scrub with a standard toilet brush and flush. No harsh fumes filling the bathroom. No rubber gloves required. And no risk of accidentally creating a cloud of chlorine gas because someone left an ammonia-based cleaning product in the bowl from last week. That danger is not theoretical. Your kitchen sponge, which touches more bacteria-laden surfaces than almost anything else in your home, needs the same attention. After a 10-minute peroxide soak, rinse the sponge thoroughly, and you have just eliminated the vast majority of the microbial colony that was quietly building inside it. 1 bottle, still the same $1. If your grandmother used to do something like this, or if you grew up in a house where 1 trusty bottle handled everything from the kitchen counter to the bathroom tile, say something in the comments. The laundry room is where the cleaning industry has really pulled one over on American families. And once you see it, You cannot unsee it. Walk down the detergent aisle at any grocery store and count the number of products that contain some form of hydrogen peroxide as their primary active ingredient, all dressed up in bright packaging, specifically designed to make you forget that fact. Oxygen bleach, oxy boosters, color, safe bleach powder, stain lifting crystals. Turn the box around and read the fine print on the back label. The working ingredient in most of those products is sodium percarbonate, which is nothing more than hydrogen peroxide in a dry, stable powder form, chemically bonded to washing soda, also known as sodium carbonate. When sodium percarbonate dissolves in your washing machine's water, it breaks apart and releases two things: hydrogen peroxide and sodium carbonate. That is the entire magic trick behind those products. The fizzing, the stain lifting, the brightening, all of it comes from the peroxide doing its job. You have been buying hydrogen peroxide in a decorated cardboard box with a recognizable brand name on it for years, possibly for decades. You just never put the pieces together. Here is what a $1 bottle of 3% hydrogen peroxide can accomplish in your laundry room without any repackaging or markup. Add 1 cup directly to your washing machine's bleach compartment along with your regular detergent. It will brighten white fabrics noticeably without the yellowing that chlorine bleach causes over time with repeated use, and it will not weaken, thin, or degrade fibers the way chlorine does. Chlorine bleach is brutal on textiles. It chemically attacks the molecular structure of fabrics like wool, silk, spandex, and even sturdy cotton with enough repeated exposure over months of regular use. Chlorine bleach thins your favorite shirts until holes appear, and bath towels start falling apart at the seams long before they should. Hydrogen peroxide's oxidation process achieves a similar whitening and stain-breaking effect through a gentler, less destructive chemical pathway. For a stubborn individual stain, whether it is blood, red wine, grass, coffee, or sweat, mix 2 parts hydrogen peroxide with 1 part liquid dish soap. Apply the mixture directly to the stain with your finger or a cloth. Let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes and launder as usual. Blood stains respond almost instantly because the peroxide reacts specifically with the iron molecules in hemoglobin, breaking the stain apart at its chemical foundation. Fresh blood stains often vanish in seconds. The visible fizzing you see when peroxide contacts dried blood is not cosmetic. That is a targeted oxidation reaction doing real, measurable work. And it does this without leaving any detectable chemical residue in the fabric or releasing toxic fumes into the air of your laundry room. Remember that the next time you are standing in front of a $12 bottle of specialty stain remover whose primary active ingredient is, once again, sodium percarbonate, which is, once again, repackaged hydrogen peroxide. We spent a long time putting together a guide for people like you, people who understand that the old ways worked and who want all of this in one place, organized, detailed, and ready to use. If you're watching on your phone or computer, the link is right below. If you're watching on your TV, grab your phone and point the camera at the code on screen. Every year, more of this disappears. This is how we make sure it does not. Here is something most people have never even considered trying. Add a 1/4 cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide to a large bowl or sink filled with cold water. Submerge your fruits and vegetables completely for 1 to 2 minutes, then rinse them thoroughly with clean water and let them dry. The peroxide works simultaneously as an antimicrobial wash, killing surface bacteria like E. coli and Salmonella on contact, and as an oxidizer that helps chemically break down and release pesticide residues from the skin of the produce. Research published in food science journals has shown that hydrogen peroxide-based washing can remove a substantial percentage of common agricultural pesticides from vegetable surfaces, with some studies reporting removal rates above 70% for specific chemical compounds, including common fungicides. The USDA has approved hydrogen peroxide for use in organic crop production as a sanitizer and disinfectant, which should tell you something meaningful about how safe this compound is when it comes into contact with your food. And here is a practical bonus that catches most people off guard. Produce washed in a dilute peroxide solution often lasts noticeably longer in the refrigerator because the antimicrobial action destroys the bacteria and mold spores that cause early spoilage. Now let us talk about your garden, because hydrogen peroxide has a role outside the house that almost nobody ever brings up. If you have ever lost a houseplant or a garden plant to root rot, and nearly every gardener has experienced it at least once, you know the particular frustration of watching something die slowly while being unable to see the cause. The leaves turn yellow and curl. The stems go limp and soft. A faint, sour smell rises from the pot. By the time these symptoms become visible above the soil line, the roots below are already a brown, mushy, structurally compromised mess. Root rot is caused by pathogenic fungi, primarily species like Pythium, Phytophthora, and Fusarium, that thrive in waterlogged, oxygen-starved soil. The standard advice is to reduce watering and improve drainage. But by the time you are seeing visible wilting, the fungal infection has usually colonized enough of the root system that drying the soil alone cannot save the plant. Hydrogen peroxide attacks root rot from two directions simultaneously, which is what makes it so effective as an emergency treatment. First, its oxidizing action directly kills the fungi responsible for the decay. Second, as the peroxide molecule breaks down in the saturated soil, it releases free oxygen directly into the root zone, which is precisely what suffocating roots need most urgently in order to begin recovering. Mix 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide with 2 parts water and pour it slowly and evenly through the soil of the affected plant. Let the pot drain completely and do not water again until the top 2 inches of soil are dry to the touch. Repeat once a week until you see new, white, healthy root tips, replacing the brown, damaged tissue. And here is something that connects this all back to nature in a way that makes you wonder why we ever stopped paying attention. Hydrogen peroxide occurs naturally in rainwater. As water vapor condenses and falls through the atmosphere, it picks up an extra oxygen molecule through reactions with ozone and ultraviolet light. That is one of the real reasons plants look so much more vibrant and alive after a good rainstorm than after you water them from the kitchen faucet. It is not just the moisture. It is the naturally occurring oxygen boost that rainwater carries with it. Your tap water does not contain that. Now, an honest word of caution here, because leaving this out would be irresponsible. Hydrogen peroxide is an indiscriminate oxidizer. It does not distinguish between harmful fungi and the beneficial microorganisms your soil depends on. If you have spent years carefully building a rich microbial ecosystem in your garden beds through composting and mulching, regular peroxide applications could undermine that balance. Use it as a targeted rescue treatment for sick and struggling plants, not as a routine supplement for healthy soil. That distinction genuinely matters, and ignoring it could cost you. Somewhere right now, there is someone in your life who would want to know every word of this. A sibling who grows their own food, a neighbor who has been quietly making their own cleaning products for years, a friend, who has always believed the old methods had something that modern shortcuts lost along the way. Send it to them. You will not need to explain why. They will understand the moment it starts playing. Here is a use that sounds unusual for about 5 seconds and then makes complete sense when you think about it. Your mattress. You spend roughly a third of your entire life lying on it, which over the course of a single year adds up to nearly 3,000 hours of direct body contact. Every one of those hours, your body is shedding dead skin cells, oils, sweat, and moisture directly into the fabric and padding. Dust mites, microscopic creatures completely invisible to the naked eye that feed on shed human skin, colonize mattresses by the millions. Research has estimated that a typical used mattress can harbor anywhere from 100,000 to 10 million individual dust mites at any given time. Their waste products, tiny protein particles scattered throughout your bedding, are among the most common triggers for indoor allergies and nighttime asthma symptoms. Millions of Americans wake up congested and stuffy every morning and blame the weather or the season when the real source is the very surface they have been sleeping on. You obviously cannot throw a mattress into a washing machine, but you can fill a dark, opaque spray bottle with undiluted 3% hydrogen peroxide, lightly mist the entire surface of the mattress in a systematic pattern, and then allow it to air dry completely in a well-ventilated room before putting clean sheets back on. The peroxide kills dust mites on contact through oxidation and helps break down the allergenic proteins they leave behind in their waste. It also eliminates odors caused by accumulated sweat and body oils without adding any synthetic fragrance of its own. There is something almost absurdly backwards about the modern approach, which involves buying a $40 specialty mattress spray whose ingredient list includes fragrance, alcohol, and a small amount of hydrogen peroxide, when the peroxide alone does the actual work and the fragrance just covers up whatever it missed. Do this every time you rotate or flip your mattress, roughly every 3 to 4 months. The same principle applies equally well to pillows, couch cushions, car seats, and upholstered dining chairs that see daily use. A light misting followed by thorough air drying. No residue when it is finished. No perfumed cover-up masking the problem while leaving the actual cause completely untouched underneath. If you have grandchildren visiting your home, this same approach works beautifully for sanitizing plastic and rubber toys. Fill a bin with equal parts warm water and 3% hydrogen peroxide. Submerge the toys for 10 minutes, rinse them off, and let them air dry. No chemical residue left for little hands to put in little mouths. Compare that to the antibacterial wipes most parents use, which leave a thin chemical film designed to keep killing bacteria on the surface, but which also transfers to skin on contact. If you run a humidifier during the winter months, you already know how quickly those water tanks can develop a slimy pink or black film of mold and bacteria. And this brings us to what might be the single most important practical detail in this entire conversation, and it is the one that almost everyone gets wrong. You know that dark brown bottle hydrogen peroxide comes in at the store. That color is not a branding decision or an aesthetic choice. It is absolutely critical to the product actually working when you use it. Hydrogen peroxide is chemically unstable when exposed to light, particularly ultraviolet light. Use an opaque or deeply tinted spray bottle every time. Store the original container in a cool, dark cabinet away from heat sources and direct light, and pay attention to how long you have had it, because even sealed and stored properly in perfect conditions, Hydrogen peroxide slowly and steadily loses potency through natural decomposition. From hat bleaching in 1873 Berlin to mold, killing, and produce washing. In American kitchens right now, hydrogen peroxide has quietly remained one of the most useful and least appreciated compounds ever put into a household bottle. We covered cutting boards and bathroom grout, laundry stains and garden root rot, mattress dust mites, and the simple storage rules that keep the whole system working. Through every single one of those applications, the same dollar bottle kept emerging as the answer that nobody in the cleaning aisle wanted you to discover. The modern supermarket would like you to believe that simple is never enough, that you need a specialized product for every room and every surface and every type of stain. Your grandmother knew better than that. And if this is your first time here, welcome. This is what we do. We go back and find the things that worked before the modern world decided it knew better. Pull up a chair and stay a while. If you found this useful, leave a like, subscribe so you do not miss what comes next, and share it with someone who deserves to know the truth about that little brown bottle.